Hi there, Tin from K-On. We're getting on with K-On. We've got an N70 here. We've got some lightweight, high strength bash plates. Let's have a look at these. So the approach we took to design the bash plates for this N70 is to go with a lightweight, high strength design. Now we've used a X700 material for this bash plate in 3mm. It's 3 times stronger than your typical mild steel or stainless steel. We're going to have a bit of a talk about bash plates and strength and how you might get some more strength into your bash plates without sacrificing weight. Now, a lot of bash plates out there are literally just plates that are bolted in. Now, a quick and easy way to get some strength in is to put folds in. We know that a folded piece of paper or a bit of steel is always going to be stronger than just a flat piece. So we've got the folds in there. Also, you can weld extra stiffeners across the other way and stand the material up, similar to a fold. We've done that too. And also, the other way you can do it is to actually just increase the thickness of the material. Now, I've seen bash plates, factory ones can be as thin as 1mm. I've seen aftermarket ones range from 2.5mm up to 6mm. Now 6mm is a bit extreme, a bit heavy. So we've gone for 3mm bash plates here. And what we've done to increase the strength of the 3mm bash plates is to go to a high performance steel. So I've got an example here. 3mm steel, this is the standard 250 grade steel that you probably see. Similar to strength as stainless steel. Stainless steel is actually a little bit weaker at 230 megapascal yield, and Strenix is 700 megapascals. Now I'll just explain what that means, that grade. So 250 grade refers to the yield stress of the material. So what stress is required to permanently bend that material. Now 250 grade compared with 700. Now this is a really good example of what might happen underneath a vehicle. So you got your forces from rocks and so forth pushing up. Now I'll push up on this 3mm bit of steel to show you the difference between the 250 grade and the 700 grade. So this 250 3mm, I can actually push that up and then you can see how it stays up. This one here, you push up and it comes right back down. So that's the difference. So in a real world environment or scenario, just say you hit a rock, this will bend and come back, this will bend and stay up. The problem with this is potentially you'll dent your sump or your transmission, and the other thing that mechanics really hate is when you've got a bent bash plate, they're really hard to get on and off again. You sort of have to straighten them. So hopefully that gives you an indication of the difference between, just bend this one back, difference between your 250 grade and your 700 grade Strenix. So how does Strenix perform compared to, say, 4mm? Now we've made bash plates out of 4mm because we've found that they perform better than the 3mm. Now, I don't have a bit of 4mm here, but if I did, the Strenix 700 would actually still perform better than a bit of 4mm 250 grade. 60% better actually. So the Strenix here would be able to withstand 60% more load before it permanently bent compared to a bit of 4mm, if that makes sense. Now, add to that the fact that we fold these and put extra ribs and so forth, means that it can hold substantially more than, say, a standard 3mm plate with no bends in it. Now, we've done our typical design of recessing all the bolt heads, really smooth design. We've made sure we've got plenty of cooling and drainage. And the other thing we've done as well is we've gone to a powder coat finish. Now this is a 3-step sandblast, prime and top coat in a nice asteroid grey. Classy yet very discreet. In this video we're going to cover how to install front sump and the transmission, and we'll also have a look at some of the features that we've incorporated into this sump design, mainly the drainage, considerations for drainage and changing of oil, and we also have a bit of a talk about diff drop compatibility and options for people who want to run a diff drop. So let's get into it. Alright, the first thing we want to do is remove the factory bash plates. Now this N70 here has got just standard bull bar, standard splash. Bash plates will accommodate this splash, so we'll leave that one on, but we'll go ahead and remove the factory bash plates. So I think the only good thing about these is they're so light, but as for protection, probably not much there. I reckon I could probably bend that with my hands. Oh yes I can. So that's that one. And this is the sump. Too tight. So we see this fairly often, that sometimes the bolts get a bit tight, a bit of rust and so forth. So that's the sump. Now if you're only going for the two-piece kit, you can leave this part on because the K-on bash plates are compatible with the factory, I don't know what that is, sort of deflector. But if you want to put the whole three-piece on, we'll get rid of this as well. And of course that one's tight too. So we'll crack these ones first. We've got the bash plates off, and I thought I'd take this opportunity to have a look at the two sets of bash plates side by side. Now, this N70's got a pretty intact set of bash plates. Obviously hasn't done too much off-roading. First thing you'll notice is the actual transmission guard. You actually protect your transmission guard, so much more protection there. The other thing to point out as well is all the bolts are recessed, similar to what Toyota have done. Now, you won't always get that with other brands of bash plates. We've got all these side folds, and this W section for the sump guard offers a lot of strength, and we've done the same with the transmission there as well. Now, weight-wise, the factory Toyota plates are really light because they're really thin. They're 6 kilos. These Strenix bash plates, three-piece, including the extra protection for the transmission, come in at 20 kilos. So it's about another 14 kilos. Not too bad, considering the extra protection you're going to get. Now we'll flip them over. This is where the main difference is. This front guard here compared to this one. Very flexy. This is nice and rigid, 3mm Strenix. We've got the extra bracing here, the extra folds to keep it nice and rigid. We've continued this sort of design for the sump guard, as you can see here. We've got the extra bracing on the top so we can recess the bolts. We've got the folds on the side and the W sort of a section in the middle, really strong. Compare that to the Toyota. Wouldn't take much to bend that one up. And then the transmission, besides offering proper protection to your transmission, we've got these folds on the side, clamps to that cross member at the back, nice and strong and rigid. And this is the Toyota one, and funnily enough, that there is a little bit thicker than that and weighs the same as the sump guard. So there you go, that's the differences between the factory and the K-on bash plates. We want to install the sump guard first, but before we actually do that, I'm going to just inspect the vehicle, make sure all the mounting surfaces are clean, and also that they're not damaged. Also a good opportunity just to have a quick check on your vehicle, make sure there's no leaks, no sort of damage. This vehicle's really tidy. Now, the other thing I like to do as well is, with all these M8 mounting points, I like to put a little bit of copper-ease, anti-seize, especially with vehicles that potentially going to go to the beach. I see so many vehicles with the tops of the bolts rusted, and then when you try to undo them, they snap off. So this just makes life a little bit easier. Okay, now that's done. We supply new grade 8.8 flanged hex bolts. We need 4 for the sump, so we'll grab those bolts, grab the sump, and get it up there. Position the sump guard. Now, I find it easiest to line up the holes at the back first. Grab these other ones. Now because we've designed this around a 3D scan, you'll notice up the front here, we miss everything, but we're also very close to everything. And that's on purpose because we wanted to get as much strength through here as possible. You can see the stiffening rib folded down. Okay, beautiful. All the holes lined up beautifully. I'm happy with that. I'll nip those up. Beautiful. Now, if you've ever worked on a Hilux, you know how crappy this sump drain hole position is, right on top of this cross member. I don't know what Toyota were thinking, but they've obviously not been able to improve that. So what we've done is we've tried to get a better solution for this. This is a little ramp that helps any drips sort of come out into this opening. Now, it's stainless steel, so it's easy to clean, and I'll just install it in place with this, and you can adjust it to position it correctly. Now, if you have a look through there, we've optimized this to be able to get your 14 mil socket in there, and that's about as good as it's going to get. And you can undo it, and hopefully that stream of oil is going to come out through this hole, and as it drips, if you're looking underneath here, this clears the hole and the oil will drip through here. So that's our solution to helping you guys change the oil. A fair bit of thought went into this sump guard. Now, we know a lot of the Hilux people who put a lift in, they'll want to put a diff drop in to help with those CV angles. Now, if you're just going with the 1-inch diff drop, what we've done with this sump guard is we've actually allowed enough clearance so that you can install your 1-inch spacer diff drop and still be able to use this bash plate, this sump guard. So you can see in there that there's enough room once that is lowered down by this 1 inch to accommodate that diff drop. Now, if you are going for a really big lift and you've got a big arm replacement style diff drop, we have a different bash plate for that. Let's talk a little bit more about diff drops. Now, if you've just got the standard 1-inch diff drop spacers, standard bash plates will do. Now, if you're going for a bigger lift and a bigger diff arm replacement arm style diff drop, like the ones that we make here, that drop the diff probably about 30 mil, you're going to need a bit more clearance with the bash plate. Now, we've come up with a design to suit this arm style replacement diff drop, and what we've done, we've put a little bit of a kink in the bottom of it. So you can sort of see there, this is so the diff does not hit the bash plate. Now, it's probably about 25 mil lower than the standard bash plates, so you don't lose too much clearance, and we've done it this way to keep it nice and strong. So you can see the difference between the standard ones and the diff drop style, arm replacement style. So just to repeat, if you're only going to be using the spacer style diff drop, you can use the standard bash plates, standard design. Arm style, big diff drops, big lifts, you're going to want to go the diff drop sump guard. So this is the big diff drop bash plate, sump plate. So we just wanted to show you what it looked like in there. Super strong, super rigid. Now this vehicle here doesn't have the actual diff drop installed, but you can tell that there's enough clearance in there for this diff to come down a good 30 mil or so. Once you get the sump on, the front goes on. Now, because this one's still got the factory splashes, I'm just going to tuck it in underneath there. Again, I'll go for the back holes here first. Now, we've designed this on purpose, this gap here, to help align everything, about 3 mil. Beautiful. Now, let's adjust these. That's pretty good, I reckon. Very nice. You'll notice on bash plates we've provided the mounting points to reattach the splash for that factory look. Now, you can reuse the factory black bolts, but for this vehicle we're going to replace them with some new mounting bolts. So let's get those up. Ones. You'll find this bottom one, you'll need to sort of bend in the position, but once it's there, it looks looks pretty factory. And we'll do the same on the other side. And also there's one up in here as well. And one up here. Beautiful. If you're only going for the front and sump, because you're more of a touring setup and you're not going to be doing some hardcore off-road, you want to save that weight, integrates with that factory transmission piece quite well. So just wanted to show you how it looks with the front sump and the factory Toyota. Maybe that's a deflector or a scoop, but all fits together. We have the transmission guard now. The way this one goes up, you've got two M8 bolts on the front there, and it just cradles onto the cross member. So what I'm going to do is I'll line it up onto that cross member. Beautiful. These line up as expected. So we've made sure we've got a nice smooth transition underneath here. That's why we recess all the heads, bolt heads. The other thing we've done is try to give you as much clearance here as possible. A lot of cooling as well, because the transmission on these Toyotas are known to get very hot. So we got those two M8s in. We'll get the clamping bolts in the back, which are two M10s. And we got some M10 for 8.8 bolts. We've got the washers on there. Through like that. And we've supplied some nylocks with these. So I'll just get them up there first. We went with this style of attachment because look, there's nothing there, no obstructions, maximum clearance, especially in the middle of the vehicle where you've got the crossover point, not crossover, ramp over. So you tend to sort of scrape the middle of your car in this position. Oops, there we go. I'll get some spanners and I'll tighten those ones up. Beautiful. I'll just lift these up until they're almost there, and then I'll make sure I'll push the bash plate all the way up before I clamp it into place. That's pretty good there. Make sure it's all the way up before you tighten it. So you want to tighten these ones first before you tighten the ones on the front there. So no need to go crazy on these ones. They're just there to clamp onto the cross member. And we've got the nylocks on there as well, so they shouldn't go anywhere. We've got all the bash plates up. Check that you're happy with the placement. This looks really nice here, nice and even. That's all good as well, so we're really happy with that. So off we go and torque it up. So using a torque wrench might be a bit of overkill, but it means that you won't damage the threads in your chassis. Now if you do that and strip them out, it's more trouble than it's worth. And anyway, this is a new torque wrench, so I want to use it. A little toy. So we're all done. So there you have it. The high strength, lightweight bash guards for the N70. Now it might look like any other typical bash plate, but this is super strong while still maintaining that lightweight. So hopefully you've learned something today. They're the bash plates for the N70.